All right, let's talk about exes. I know you don't want to dream about your ex. I don't either, but we do. So let's talk about why that is. It's actually not what you think and almost always a good sign. So let's find out why. Hi, I'm Karen. I dream a lot. I study and talk about dreams. I do dream interpretations for people. So join me in the comments below. I'm sure you've dreamed about your ex. That's one of the most common comments I get. So go ahead and put it in the comments below. Okay, the first thing to know is that it is very normal. It is very, very normal to dream about your ex. It is very common. And so don't take it as a sign of this, that, or the other. Like, we're going to get into what it means. The first time you do dream about your ex, that's what you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be dreaming about my ex. I don't want to dream about my ex, but you do. And it's normal. One of the reasons we dream about our ex is if we are grieving a loss, and a new loss, not associated with the ex, but we are reminded of other losses. So if you've ever had a loss in your life, and not just someone passing away, though that is generally the biggest loss that we tend to experience, but the loss of a job, or the loss of a relationship, or someone leaves home, not you, but maybe your children leave home, or someone moves out, any of those kinds of losses will bring up, it's time for you to grieve. And when you grieve one thing, other grief comes up. Your past grieves, is that a word? Your past experiences of grief kind of also come up. And the longer you live, the more this kind of happens. And so when you have grief already, it's going to remind you of other losses and other things that you've grieved. And so you will probably dream about your ex in that kind of situation, another loss. So if you have the dream of your ex, think about, okay, am I right now going through a loss of any kind? It doesn't have to be a relationship loss. It can be any other kind of loss, the loss of a pet. Then think about that and see if that is one of the reasons why you're dreaming about your ex. Another reason we can dream about an ex is because there's something in our life causing us anxiety. So look at what's happening in your life, especially something that happened 2 or 3 days before you had the dream about your ex. Is it something that's giving you anxiety, or are you in a kind of more general state of anxiety in your life right now? If so, then what happens is your mind goes back to other things that caused you anxiety, and likely breaking up with your ex caused you a lot of anxiety. So your brain, your mind, your subconscious goes back there during sleep to do a couple things that are some of the other reasons we're going to talk about. But in general, if you're anxious, you're going to be reminded of other things that made you anxious. And of course, your ex is one of those things. There was actually an increase of people having these kinds of dreams during the beginning of the pandemic because there was this just pervasive air of anxiety everywhere. And so more people started to dream about their exes. One of the biggest reasons that people think that they dream about their ex is that they're trying to sabotage themselves, or that they miss their ex and they want to go back to them, and they're like, why would I dream about him? I don't want to be in a relationship with him or her or them. I don't want to be in a relationship with them, so why am I dreaming about them? And they mistakenly think it means that they do, but they don't know that they do. That's not what it's about. It's actually a way to process and heal after a breakup. And I know this makes not much sense, but it's actually how you process things. When any kind of thing happens, that not just breaking up with someone, but any, again, transition, movement from one thing to another thing, we kind of process it, we think about it. There's thinking happening in the back of our mind, or as we're doing other things. There's just, your system is clearing it out. And part of that clearing out process, part of that getting past and over it process, is to dream about it and to kind of look at it again. Sometimes it's your brain wanting to remind you, yeah, it was bad and I'm glad and I want to not be there anymore in that situation. You're processing how you feel about it, and you can't process how you feel about it unless you think about it. So the feeling is connected to the thinking, and your brain, dreams are a lot about helping us process our feelings, release our feelings, know what we're feeling. And so your brain is going to be helping you with those feelings, and part of that assistance is to remember your ex. Rosalind Cartwright she was a doctor who studied dreams, and she had a very interesting study about women going through divorce and what kind of dreams they had. And her study says that it's a way of working out your negative feelings about your spouse. You do it in the dreams. And actually, she found that all the women in the study were depressed. Those who dreamed about their ex ended up feeling less depression than those who did not dream about their ex. Dreaming about your ex is a good thing. When I tell people that, a lot of them, I've had some people be like, that's not a good thing, that's crazy. But it is a good thing. It's a sign that you're getting over them. It's a sign that you are processing what happened and you're getting past it. One of the quotes I like from the study is, dreaming diffuses the emotional charge of the real life event and prepares the sleeper to wake ready to see things in a more positive life, to make a fresh start. I've mentioned this in other videos. When you are dreaming, it's a way to release emotions and feelings and to process your feelings, to feel them. We're too busy in our waking lives to feel feelings, or we don't feel safe enough to feel feelings. We don't have anyone to help us feel feelings or be with our feelings. So our dreams are there to help us, to be with us, to give us a safe place to feel them. And that's what's happening sometimes when you are dreaming about an ex. If you were in a toxic relationship with an ex and you're having dreams about them, and it kind of is a very similar dream, that's similar to what happens with PTSD. PTSD nightmares are kind of flashbacks and nightmares of an event that occurred. Often it's a singular event that the PTSD sufferer relives over and over. But if you were in a toxic relationship, there's not necessarily a singular event. It was the whole relationship. And so some of that is it's part of your brain trying to process and move forward. But it might be stuck. And in that case, first of all, it's helpful if it's a PTSD situation to definitely talk to a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor. I love Dr. Sandra Brown. I'll put a link to her material in the description down below. You want to deal with the underlying trauma. And so if that's what's happening, and only you know what's happening, then that's kind of the path that your dreams are helping you to be like, okay, I need to deal with this a little more. What if you're dreaming about an ex from some time back, you're married now, you've moved on, it's not a recent breakup, you're living your life, and then you dream about an ex, like from college or something, right? So that is generally they represent the qualities that you knew them as. And I've done another video all about what it means when you dream about people. And so this same thing, an ex represents certain qualities that you ascribe to them. And those qualities are within you, and your dream is using them as the stand-in to say, these are qualities that the dream is talking about, that you have within yourself. They could be positive, they could be negative, because we have many qualities. They're not all good, right? So look at what else is happening in the dream, but the person who you knew before, they may be representing those qualities. Also, are they qualities that you might miss in your current life? So if they were funny, do you miss having fun and laughter in your life? If they were, super hardworking, do you miss having that? Or are you missing connection? They could also sometimes just be representative or symbolic of connection. So are you missing connection? Again, if these are the things that are coming up for you, look at what's happening in your life, past few days, and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, okay, well, I know I wasn't in a toxic relationship. This was a long time ago. Am I missing connection? Like you decide. The dreamer decides what the dream means. Kind of related is that this is a sign when you dream of your ex that you have moved on and that you learned lessons from that experience and you're ready to move on, or you have already moved on. Related to that is sometimes it comes up because you are in an experience now in your waking life and you can use what you learned from that time before when you were in a similar experience. Maybe you learned something from that past relationship and you could use it now in a work situation or in a situation with a friend or in some other health situation. Look at, okay, what was it I learned from that relationship? Then can I use it here in this new situation that I'm facing, or a new situation that I'm facing? Now, related to that is, what if you are subconsciously repeating the same behavior from that past relationship that your ex represents, and you're repeating it now? Again, only you know, but that's another thing you can ask yourself, is say, okay, is this why my ex is showing up in my dream? Am I repeating the same behaviors and the same thought patterns, and I'm going to make a mistake now like I made before? Ask yourself that. Am I reacting in the same way and it's going to not be good? Or are you afraid that it's going to happen again? Like, that can also come up. We can be afraid that we're going to repeat the mistakes, and so we dream about an ex because we're afraid we're going to do the same thing again. The dreamer decides, but you have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself that. Another thing is that it can mean that someone in your current life is reminding you of the ex. It doesn't have to be another love interest. It could be a boss or a coworker or a friend or even a relative. Okay, they could be reminding you of your ex, and so things happening in the dream might help you understand that the ex is a stand-in for this other person, that they have similar qualities or they remind you of them. And you may need to use what you learned with your ex in this other situation that is very similar, but not necessarily a relationship like you had with your ex. What if you are in the dream and you're with your ex, and in the dream you dream that you get back together? That is often actually a sign that you are worried because you're finding yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in, just like before. You are unhappy and uncomfortable in this new situation, just like you were before. Again, it could be a relationship, but it doesn't have to be the same exact kind of relationship. It could be any situation you're facing in your life. Something with a neighbor, something at work, something with your health. It doesn't have to be a relationship and a relationship. It can be other situations that relationship had an energy about or a quality to, and it's reminding you of it. If you're getting value from this video, please click the like button so that more people can find out why they dream about their ex, because it is something that bothers a lot of people. Thank you. Those are the main reasons why you might be dreaming about your ex. So pick one of those reasons, maybe it's a couple of them, but decide which of these things it is so that you get the message of the dream, so you don't keep dreaming about them because you don't want to dream about them any more than you have to. So pick one of those things, and then what do you do about it? First of all, if you just know that it's symbolic and that they represent some quality or a lesson or some kind of, their energy that may be showing up again in your life, if you understand that sometimes takes the sting out of it right away, and sometimes will make it so you don't keep dreaming about them. So that's the first thing. Just know that it's symbolic. It's not them, it's symbolic. I know that's really hard. I know. Next, you want to look at, okay, are there some unhelpful patterns from the relationship before that I'm repeating now? You got to be honest with yourself. Sometimes you can journal about this or talk to a friend or just talk out loud to the dog and find out and think about, am I repeating some patterns from the past and it's not helping me in a current situation? And then work to change those patterns. You can change those patterns. Find out how to change whatever the pattern is. Again, that's a whole other journey and way more than I talk about on my videos, but finding a therapist, finding a psychologist, doing the work. You do your trauma healing, do your work. That's sometimes what dreams are helping us to do. That's often what dreams are helping us do. Now here's a cool thing, and I like doing this. You reimagine the dream. So you go back into the dream, and let's say your ex was there and something icky was something unpleasant was happening. You were mad or you were sad or whatever happened in the dream, and you woke up and it was like, ugh, I don't like that dream. We were sitting on the couch and there were bats everywhere or something like that. All right, so go back in, either in your imagination. You can do this without a piece of paper or a journal, or you can do it in your journal, and you just go back into the dream. You reimagine the dream, just like it says, and you go back in and you're sitting on the couch and it was gross and scary and I didn't want to be there with him. So then imagine something different. Imagine that somebody turned the lights on. Imagine that everything became flowers. That's my favorite one. If you've watched my videos, I say that a lot. Because the first time I did this, that's what happened in my imagining. I reimagined it, and everything became flowers. It was a beautiful garden, and I now like the dream, and I talk about it, and I kind of like remembering the dream because of how I reimagined it. So reimagine what was happening and have the ex disappear, or have the ex turn into a puppy dog, or have, anything. Just reimagine the dream, which shifts that energy. Or turn to the ex and say, why are you here? What lesson are you here to teach me? and see what comes into mind. Whatever you think of, whatever comes to mind is probably the answer. You can also try this. Let's say you've done those 3 steps. There's one more thing you can try, and this, I don't get into it a whole lot yet, but I hope to do some videos about incubating dreams or asking your dreams for answers, which you can do. There's a certain process you can go through at night before you go to sleep, and some people, there's some steps you want to take. You journal about it and you think about it, and then you ask the question and you think of the question over and over. So basically you can ask your dreams for clarification. Say you're not sure, why did I dream that me and my ex were in a tent and we were on the ocean, floating in the ocean like a tent sailboat thing? What was that all about? What did that mean? Ask. Before you go to bed, write down the question you have. Come up with the way you want to word your question. Please give me clarity around the dream I had about my ex. And then you kind of think about that as you're falling asleep, your question, and remember the dream, and think about it as you are falling asleep. And then write down the dream that you have the next morning and interpret that and see if it gives you any clarity. You do have to understand dream interpretation and symbolism, and that dreams are symbols. And if you want, I really like dreammoods.com. That's a dream dictionary in the description down below. Or you can talk to a dream interpreter or talk to your psychologist. They interpret dreams too. Talk to a friend. See what the answer is from your question, asking, okay, why did I have this dream? What is the message you're trying to tell me? Or you can just say, what is the message I can learn from this dream about my ex? I mentioned it earlier. Next video is why we dream about people, what happens when you are dreaming about people, different kinds of people, and what they represent. Go ahead and click that video next. Thank you for watching this one. You can follow me on Instagram at Caryndreams, and please also subscribe, and then you can get more videos about dreams, dream meanings, dream interpretations. Thank you.